Hi, as part of our work of representing the voice of business, I am delighted to welcome you to this, a new video series entitled Talking Thames Valley. We've invited respected journalist Andrew Peach to have conversations with a selection of our members who represent industries across the wider region and businesses large and small. They're going to share their stories of the challenges and opportunities that they and their clients are facing. And also we're going to be using it as part of our wider campaign to ensure that in an election year that the Thames Valley business community is recognised for its contribution to the wider challenges that the UK faces. Sit back and enjoy.
Tell me who you are and the organisation that you are involved in, Dom.
I'm Dom Unsworth and I live and work in Slough, and my organisation is Resource Production CIC, and we work across Berkshire as both Screen Berkshire and Berkshire Film Office.
Now, the creative sector around here is thriving. In many parts of the economy are taking a bit of a hit at the moment, but the creative sector is thriving, particularly because we've got these Shinfield studios coming.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing the amount of inward investment that we've had from both overseas and also then the response locally in the UK and across the region. So we've got lots of amazing studios, not least of all Shinfield Studios up in the borough of Wokingham. We also have Stage 50, which is based up there at Winnersh in Wokingham, and Pitch Studios that do post-production. And also on the other side of the county, we're a little bit further away, we've got Bray Film Studios as well, which is a real historic heritage site as well. So lots of studios and lots of incoming productions due to kind of kick off in the next few months.
And then there's a whole economy around that, isn't there, of other businesses that might be feeding off the fact that it's now becoming a hub of creativity, but also supplying the studios directly with the things they need.
Yeah, locally, this supply chain to film and TV is something that is a massive growth area. It's worth noting that it has been a challenging 12 months for the sector for film and TV because of the strikes that occurred last year. So we had both actor and writer strikes last year, which impacted on production. But what that's meant is that there's a huge opportunity coming down the pipeline from US productions coming in 2024. So from the summer onwards, we need our suppliers across the county of Berkshire to come together and to build up their own supply chains so that we can service that incoming production.
And that means you're going to need all sorts of skills. Tell me what's going on, because I know that the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce is involved in this, in providing education, skills development, so that the creative sector isn't in any way restricted. The growth isn't restricted by a lack of people to support it.
Yeah, so Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce have secured sort of delivery of the Local Skills Investment Plan, or LSIP, another acronym for people to get their heads around. But the LSIP in Berkshire engaged with a large number of businesses through the chambers, both members and non-members, and together that engagement identified some key areas, and the creative industries, specifically screen industries, were prioritised for Berkshire within the Local Skills Investment Plan. And with that came some support funding, which is the LSIP funding, which is another acronym. So there's some funding that came through to local FE colleges, which is now being delivered against that plan. And in addition, the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce have set up the Workforce Development Partnership for Screen Industries. So there's a group of employers from across Berkshire that are in the supply chain, that are in the studio networks, that are in production, that come together to help inform FE curriculum, HE curriculum, but to also deliver on the skills needs across, whether that's T-levels, apprenticeships, and find solutions that will help service the industry, facilitated by the chambers.
So one side of this is about skills, but also you just need people. And actually, there are already quite a few employment opportunities in all sorts of sectors for people around here that companies find hard to fill.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult within the creative industries, especially because a lot of people are self-employed. So the focus of a lot of the work that the Chambers has been supporting is around small businesses, SMEs, micro businesses, and self-employed individuals. And really, the more we can do collectively to support new businesses or emerging businesses to expand, grow, train up, one extra person to work within, whether that might be in construction for set building, electrical for lighting, whether it's art department for prop building, or whether it's actually some of the camera and sound and performance related sectors. But all of those different service industries need people to be trained up in those skills, really by the autumn, we're hoping.
Oh, and then this is all going to happen in a place where it's already expensive to live. So that's another aspect. The cost of living pressures are greater here than they would be if this creative development was happening elsewhere in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. The cost of living is really, relatively high in Berkshire, but also we have relatively good employment, which means we have a double challenge. But actually, one thing about the screen industries is it looks for those that are returning to work. It looks for those that maybe have been in a sector that now has got less opportunities. And so there's opportunities to upskill, reskill. It's not all about young new entrants coming in. It is about people deciding that they want to be involved in a sector that's slightly different, maybe midway through their career or even towards the end of their career. So you don't need any specific qualifications for most of the roles in the screen sector. So it's perfect for people to be trained up and transfer across.
So it's a sector that's doing pretty well. What help do you need to keep that growth going for your organisation, for the sector more widely, from government?
So the massive need at the moment is that within the creative industries, things like apprenticeships and T-levels that colleges and schools have to deal with, and independent training providers, they are really, really good ways of training up people in our sector. But sadly, lots of businesses have not had positive experiences always with these kinds of government programs. So what we need to do is work with local businesses, especially SMEs in the supply chain, to build up that ability to deliver placement programs, work experience programs, and apprenticeships to create that supply chain locally and to build up from the grassroots. So really businesses that want to offer opportunities to not just young people, but anyone looking at entry level from an apprenticeship route, or to host placements so that people get a sense of what the career trajectory might be in some of these supply chains.
And of course, everyone's talked about the fact that we're in this sort of hiatus situation at the moment where there's an election coming. We don't know who's going to be running the country in 12 months, 6 months from now. Does it feel challenging to ride that storm, to kind of wait until we see who's in charge and what their priorities and sympathies might be?
I think politics to some extent doesn't impact as massively on our sector at the moment. We've just had some really great news from the Conservative government in terms of particular taxes that have assisted some of the independent production. And actually Labour have made some really great announcements about how they would keep skills funding in place, but they might slightly tweak it, which might be to the benefit of our sector. So, whatever the shape of the government in the next year, I think both are extremely supportive of the creative industries and skills development. So that hiatus doesn't really impact us. What impacts us is, again, like I say, the impact of the strikes last year and actually the hiatus we've had in filming in the UK. And that's what we're all waiting to kick back off in a couple of months. And
just thinking about Resource Productions and your own role, what's keeping you awake at night at the moment?
So at the moment, we're a not-for-profit, so we are a community interest company. So our main objective is to identify some of these people that might be suitable for the skills gaps that we have in the sector. And the challenge is we have massive skills gaps in the sector across everything from carpentry and electrical to specialist hair and makeup, to actual accounting and managing the funds in a production. But the challenge is right now, because of the hiatus, there's lots of people also out of work. And so it's knowing how we keep lots of the amazing talent that we have within the sector in Berkshire engaged and actively employed within the creative industries while we have a kind of mini hiatus, and to get them back into work for the really good jobs that are coming that will be much more sustainable over future years. So that's our immediate challenge, is keeping people engaged during a really challenging few months ahead.
And finally, people who work in other areas of business look at the creative industries. I know this myself to an extent. They go, "Oh, that looks exciting. That looks fun. That looks like a more joyous thing to get up and do when you go to work." Is it?
I'm not going to lie, I've been doing this for 25 years and I still think it's the most exciting thing ever to get to go on sets at like Shinfield Studios or Bray Studios and see, your idols often from the US and shows and franchises that you only dreamed of, like Ghostbusters, which is coming out, which, was shot at Stage 50 and Shinfield Studios, which is in Wokingham. It's just crazy. And you never get tired of that. It's very exciting. However, it's really hard work. You have to be passionate. You do need some support to get into the sector, because it's difficult to find work often in the first instance, and you do need to be able to work long hours and travel a lot. So it's not for everyone, but it is extremely exciting. It's really, really like creative, but also really practical. And you don't, like I say, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need loads of qualifications. You just need a really positive attitude. So it's equitable in that sense as well.
That's great, Dom. Thank you very much. Nice chatting.
Thanks very much.